Good evening. So I guess I just want to talk about the way in which we can make things happen. This is a photograph of Death Valley in the United States. Death Valley is known as one of the most inhospitable areas. It's really hot, nothing grows. But every so often it rains, and when it rains, it really rains. And sometimes it rains as much as 6 inches, which is a lot in your language. But it's about this much. And when it rains sufficiently, it washes the earth a lot. And the seeds have grown a wax which protects them from the enormous heat. And when it rains a really lot, then the wax comes off. And then, every 50 or 60 years, when the wax has gone, the seeds can germinate because of the warmth. And then Death Valley turns into this. And I just wonder how many people are just waiting for it to rain so that the skill set we've got, the things we can do, are allowed just to come out. Wouldn't that be cool? Except they're covered in wax, and it's hot, and it's difficult to make things happen. So I'd just like to talk a little bit about the way we make that work. Schools are interesting because they divide people into what we call cohorts, which is, say, year 1s, year 2s, and year 3s, year 4s, as if people can be divided like that. This is a photograph of teddy bears, right? They're all made in the same factory, all made by the same people, and yet they're all different. Has anybody here ever gone to choose a teddy bear and find you look at one of them and you go, oh, I wouldn't buy that one looks nasty. And I don't know about these two, they look like they might be fighting. Except teddy bears come in all different shapes and sizes. There are big ones, little ones, black ones, yellow ones. They might all be the same age, but they're very different people. Except there are 7,000 million individuals in the world, all trying to make their own difference. We are all trying to make a difference. Somehow, against 7,000 million other people. So what do we say to somebody who's young, just entering this amazing world? What do we say to show what can be done? And we get caught up in mindsets. Here's a wonderful thing. I spend a lot of time working in schools. I just want to sort of show you. This is the lovely exam question. Write the answer, 36 plus 47. Well, the answer's 83. You must show you're working. Okay, I'll show me working. And you know, in a school, you count it up or down if you do that. And our mindsets are very powerful. I guess we all know escalators, right? And we can all manage an escalator. Have you ever tried using an escalator which is off? Oh, completely different story, isn't it? You know, you'll see people going, oh, the thing's off. How do I get on? You know, and you get all that stuff. And those mindsets are very powerful. Here are 2 vertical lines, one on the left, one on the right. Which one is longer, the one on the left or the one on the right? Okay, shout if you think the one on the left. Shout if you think the one on the right. And the rest of you? Aha. Well, they're not. The one on the right is 25% shorter. Now, I just wonder if we're using, I call this mindsets, right? I wonder if we were using our minds or we're just saying, oh, I've seen this before. Ha, 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 you come from England. You know? So let's try it again. Which one is longer, the one on the left or the one on the right? Who thinks one on the left? Shout if you think the one on the left. Shout if you think it's the one on the right. Shout if you think they're equal. Who doesn't want to shout just in case they get it wrong? Okay, well, guess what? They are equal. Except, the thing is, we get ourselves caught in all of this. The things which we answer are sometimes because of the history of what we've seen before, rather than the destiny of what we can achieve. So what do we tell him? And you know, what do we tell them? Where are they going to end up as people? Where are those? Somebody is going to be the next Shakespeare. Somebody is going to be the next Bill Gates. Somebody's going to be the next, why not one of these? Why not her? And that's the power of the individual. Do you remember being so excited by something at school, you had to tell everybody? It's a shame that in a lot of schools we don't do that. So now what do we tell her about the wonderful opportunities? The lady on the right, Shez Webb, fantastic head teacher in the country in which I live, in the UK. And she was saying, we have to do something with kids who are disadvantaged, who are in schools special schools for disabled kids. And we had a conversation. We said, well, you've got a pool a hydrotherapy pool, so why don't we make it into a spa? And you've got a hall, so let's make it into conferencing. And you've got some catering, so let's have a really good cafe. And let's do something fantastic. And our children make things, so let's have a wonderful shop. And everybody said, you're insane. You know, this is a school for kids who can. And they gave us an old, shitty building like this. And there was no money around, and it looked like that inside, and the kitchens had been destroyed. And we said to really, really great people, let's see if we can do something fantastic with very little money. So that's what it looks like today. It's called the Beehive. You'll see it says cafe, retail, well-being, conference. It doesn't say special school for underprivileged kids or anything. And when you walk in at night, it looks like that. And in the daytime, it looks like this in the catering. And if you go to the cafe, it looks like this. And if you go to see stuff which has been made, it looks like that. And this happened in the holidays with people who just walked in wanting a coffee and wanting to do stuff. And of course, there's a wonderful kitchen, and that boy got recruited by a company which was holding a conference. And when we hold conferences, they're really great conferences. And there's a spa. And all this is in a school, which everybody said won't happen. This woman, Gronya, is amazing working with kids, and kids from complex areas in inner city. And we run conferences and conversations with kids about what could be made so much better. Let's break the paradigms. Let's break them. We made this. And now we're doing this. Oh, no, this is another conversation with some more kids, and it sort of all happened, and we're doing that now. Just to say, look, the cities are exciting and wonderful. Let's make the spaces the same. Let's make that. And it's all about working with children, all about working with young people, because they've got great ideas, and we take them out to see other people. And you know, the extraordinary thing when we take them to see other people is they get good ideas. It's a bit like TEDx for kids. There is TEDx for kids, but TEDx for kids every day in every school. Wouldn't that be cool? And that's what we're sort of trying to do. This is what we say to some people. Go to a school and say, make a video on things you should start doing, keep doing, or stop doing. Kids hardly ever get asked that. What should we start doing? What should we stop doing? And I'd just like to show you in a primary school, these are little young kids, where we asked them to make a video. We gave them 2 hours to come back with a video. No tuition, no training, no nothing, just go. I'd like to show you just one of hundreds of videos which have been made. The kids made all of this. I mean, all of it. 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, with no training. So what mark are they leaving on their schools? Is that or is that not interesting? I wonder what they can grow up into. I wonder what they can do. And so we encourage, have nice dining. We encourage people to do things like this. And that's how it was. And then I had a test. And the test was something which I never thought would happen. I had a stroke, a brain hemorrhage. I found myself unable to say my name. I couldn't talk. I couldn't read. I couldn't really say anything. I couldn't do anything. All my sight on the right-hand side of my head, gone. And that was really tough. And so I found myself expecting that this is going to go on for a long time. And people were saying, expect this to last at least 3 months, probably a year, before you start reclaiming any of your senses. And I was in hospital, and they showed me how much of my brain had been destroyed by the stroke. And the brain doesn't come back, you know? And there were lots of people doing all sorts of tests and all sorts of analysis, and I got pretty sorry for myself. And I was stuck in a position where I was saying, this is going to go on for a long time. And I was even trying to work out how to tell the time after a week. And it was disaster, because I just couldn't work out how to put a clock together, let alone do anything else. And I thought, well, that's it. And all of the technical guys were saying, expect this. And it was terrible, because they were giving me the menus for my food, and I couldn't read. What is the point of giving a menu if you can't read? Do you sort of see how silly it is? And the technical guys were effectively treating me as something to be dealt with, rather than me as a person to see how do I recover. Does that sort of sound sensible? And if you go to a lot of hospitals, we get really scared of the professionals. They wear white coats. They're really nice people, but they're all siloed into little sets of activities. There are people who do the blood, the people who do something else, the people who do the light, people who do the speech, people who do the sounds, all this sort of stuff. But I'm not like that. And the stuff was told private and confidential to me. I'm the client. You know, I'm the customer, you're the provider. Nobody was a client manager trying to sort of see how can you get on. And then as I started finding, okay, I can see a little bit, what I did is I left the hospital. And everybody said, you shouldn't do that. And I went out. And I suddenly discovered by going out and seeing if I can just buy something in a shop, I realized I can't, because I've lost all my passwords. I don't know how to buy anything. I don't know how to talk to anybody. I really don't know what money is anymore. I better learn money. I better learn all this stuff. Because unless you know what you've lost, how can you work out how to recover? And who's more important? The specialists advising me in what they think is right, or me finding out what do I need to know in order to get back? What have I forgotten? What have I lost? Otherwise, I can't work out my own program. And I suddenly realized, my goodness, that's not how we work. That's not how we work. So I was doing masses of exercises, lots and lots and lots and lots of therapy. And I decided, maybe I need to do something else. So that's what happened to me. And people were saying it's going to take between 3 months and a year to get yourself at all close to how you were, except they never asked me how I was. So they didn't know what they were aiming at. All they knew is what they could see as errors. And I thought, we have to change this. And so I said to the people here, I'd love to come and give a conversation just to see if other people feel the same way. Because all of that happened 8 weeks ago. So 3 weeks ago, I couldn't really talk. That's not the purpose. It's not to say, aren't I wonderful? I was really lucky. I was lucky enough that I could work out, with other people's help, what I needed to do and work out my own program. And I was thinking, if only in the hospital we had used what the kids discovered works, things the hospital should start doing, things the hospital should keep doing, things the hospital should stop doing, in order to let me become the person I think I can become again. And what a shame that we have so many highly skilled technical people who are really good at what they do, and they are wonderful people, but not terribly well coordinated. So I thought, let's try and get it coordinated. So I'm making movies right now to try and see if I can help other people who are in a similar position, who get put in a hospital pushed around on trolleys, told to eat this, don't eat that. The one thing which everybody told me when I was in the acute ward was relax, take it easy, don't strain yourself, don't worry, things will come back. Actually, yes, relax, but with a positive relaxation. Find out what you need to know and find out how you're going to do it. Yesterday, coming here, I discovered I couldn't anymore use PowerPoint to set up hyperlinks. And I used to be really good at it. So I thought, well, I know how to do it, but I can't do it. And I messed up a lot of stuff. That was yesterday. And it took me 4 hours traveling up to here to work out, now I know how to find a file and how to locate it and how to add it to something else. So I've made some movies in the hope that people can do it. This is the first one. I did it after 4 weeks because I set myself some targets. One of my targets is that 3 weeks, well, 2.5 weeks after I went to hospital, I was going to launch the Association of Secondary Heads Conference with 500 people where I'd be speaking for an hour. And when I couldn't read and when I couldn't do stuff, I was thinking, that is something for me to work towards. I've only got 2.5 weeks. And I was counting off the days, and I was dividing it, and I was working up quite an intense strategy for how, in a relaxed, taking it easy way, I can pick all those things up. That's completely different from relax, take it easy, it'll come. Do you sort of see? And I think that's what's enabled me to recover what a lot of people think is very quickly. So there it was. That was the first. And since then, I've been pretty well working all the time and doing between 4 and 6 hours of therapy per day, but with a focus. And I think it's the focus which we need to get right. I think it's the goal and the target and the aims, and I don't know which direction it's going to go. Me, I was really in education and trying to make kids work better and all the rest of it. Now, I'm really into how do we help people recover from health as well as education. So we change, and it's an enjoyable change. I am so lucky that I had a stroke because it's enabled me to work something new. Seriously, it's enabled me to work something new. So there I was, the equivalent of that desert, thinking my life could be ruined with other people saying expect a year. And I think I can make it into that. And that's what all of us can do if we just focus and go with determination. And people say opportunities nowhere, just a little space bar. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I'm here. Thank you very much.